Hello, everybody. Hello, this is Ray Renati, and you have reached Green Room on Air. I hope you're not weary and feeling small. I hope you're unweary and feeling tall. I sound like Dr. Seuss today, don't I? We have an excellent guest today. We had a great conversation about the performing industry, as it were, especially as it exists here in San Francisco and in Los Angeles. My guest is the founder of Aura Casting. What is Aura Casting? Well, Aura Casting is a casting director company, and it's run by Taylor Lambert. He started in the industry in 2011 in San Francisco. He's worked as an accomplished actor, model, brand ambassador, host, director, production coordinator, producer, many things, entrepreneur. And these are all great experiences for a casting director to have, because they have to wear many hats. What is a casting director, you may ask? Or a casting agent? Well, and how does it differ from a talent agent? Well, let me tell you. A casting agent works for those who want to produce work. Television stations, independent film producers, studio film producers, etc. A talent agent works for the talent, the actors, the voice actors, etc. Etc. is my word for the day, I suppose. Anyway, they're separate. One works for the producer and one works for the talent. And ne'er shall the twain meet, or whatever the phrase is. And Taylor is a casting director. Anyway, we had a great conversation, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. You better. You know what? And if you do, and if you don't, tell your friends about Green Room on Air and all the great stuff you've heard here over the years. Another thing I'd like to ask, if you can, you can give as little as 99 cents. I do this all for free because I love it, but it does cost me some money. It would be awesome if some of you, my listeners out there, could give me a little bit of financial support. And all you have to do is go to Anchor FM /Green Room on Air. And there's a little support button there. And you can give as much or as little as you want. I think the smallest amount is 99 cents. Yeah. That'd be awesome. Not only is etc. my word for the day, but awesome is my word for the day. I'll put a link for that in the show notes. Just want to say a little bit about Betty White. It's sad to see her pass, but boy, what a great life she lived. 99 years old. So hilarious. She spread so much good cheer around the world. She was also an animal rights activist. She was married to Alan Ludden, who was the host of Password. For those who are old enough, that was a very popular game show back in the olden days. And they were very much in love, apparently. And so we will all miss the late, great Betty White. And I'm sure she's up there listening. I love you, Betty. I love you. All right. Anyway, that's enough for today. In terms of my pre-show rambling. So why don't we get to our guest, the fantabulous Taylor Lambert. Tell me about Aura Casting. This is sort of a thing that came out during COVID that you started?
Totally came out of COVID, Ray. This was something that I wasn't anticipating, I wasn't planning for. I was just working at my 9-to-5 video production company job in Oakland as a producer, production coordinator. And then one day, early March, my boss calls me into his office, and I think it's the standard routine. And I bring my notepad and pen. I'm going to take notes on the project. He says, "Sorry, man, you're fired. We have to let you go."
Oh, geez.
Boom, clean cut, and literally 2 hours later, I'm doing what you see happens in TV shows where people put things in the cardboard box, the flour sticking out.
Oh, yeah.
It was real. You know what I mean? Like, I was actually living that story. So I had to laugh at myself in the moment while I was walking out of the building, like, wow, I feel like I'm watching a TV show of myself.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, like everyone else, that year was extremely hard to deal with, 2020. And so, I thought, okay, well, I'm let go. Maybe I can go to the coffee shop. Maybe I can go to the movies with friends. And over, 2 days later, Newsom initiates the shutdown.
Yeah.
So holy moly. So in, kind of that depth of despair that eventually I got to, because I just didn't know what to do for months and months at a time.
Yeah.
I realized, there's so much that I've done in my life that I can bring forward into something new, perhaps. So, I've been an actor, I've been a director, producer. I've, coordinated events, parties, and, really believe in community and building community. So all these things sort of swirled together in my mind as I was kind of brainstorming on my Google Doc. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to, because talk about a time for reflection. The only thing I could do, right, is just sort of reflect at home. And so Aura Casting came out mid-December, December 18th, I think was the day I had the idea. And it was essentially a casting service, freelance casting service gone virtual. So I don't have a studio. And I thought that was really important for me to do it that way, because, in the Bay Area, we have such great casting directors. There's got to be a way for me to kind of distinguish myself in the space,
right,
and, offer clientele and producers a different option. And so it really kind of behooved me, from a financial standpoint too, because, I didn't have any overhead. I didn't have a studio. Essentially, the studio was the actor's living room or green screen with their, 4K cameras and ring lights. I mean, hey, you practically got a studio in every audition. It just looks a little different. So, I took that theory and ran with it. I was like, well, this is sort of the way we're going. I mean, I don't know what'll happen. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, are actors still going on set? Like, this is January 2021. No idea. But yeah, I thought, there was literally nothing else I could do. I have to do something. I have to move. You know what I mean? Because
yes.
It's just that sort of fire in all of us when we hit a rock bottom to have to move up and go forward. But before I keep rambling on, I want to take pauses, because I know I can do that if you have.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to know. So everything is virtual. You're depending on actors to record themselves in a way that people won't want to hit the stop button in 3 seconds. Which I know can be a challenge, since we're all sort of just trying to figure this out right now. I know I've had to submit some of those over the last couple of years. And I'm getting much better at it. I look back at the first couple I did. Oh my God, what a disaster.
Yeah, for sure.
What I find difficult is, like, I have a photography business. It's kind of slowed down like crazy, but it was doing well for a while. And, that's fine. I can set it up behind the camera, But then when I have to do the acting, the producing, be my own cameraman, be my own lighting man, be my own sound man or person, sorry. That can be daunting.
Yes. Right.
Have you found
Right.
that with some of the
Yes.
actors? Yeah.
No, I mean, I think you're hitting all the right notes there. You know, it's such a new learning for everybody, because you remember pre-pandemic days when
Loved
you.
it. I mean, I got used to it too. We all got used to it for like so many years.
Yeah, you go down to the casting room, everyone's there, especially in the Bay Area. Everyone's friendly, they're hanging out, having a great time, making
not like
friends.
LA where they're giving each other the evil eye, you know.
Right. I mean, it's really, really collaborative up here, and people rooting for each other. And man, I love that. And so obviously, back then self-tapes were a little bit more frowned upon, because it was a sign that you were lazy and that you couldn't come into the city for whatever reason and do the thing.
Right.
Now it's quite the opposite. Now it's the preferred way. And I think it's really kind of speeding up efficiencies in the industry that we were waiting for, but never had a reason to sort of go along with, because, well, the pandemic wasn't here and there's nothing sort of forcing us. Right. And now it's a completely new set of tools. So basically I give these workshops. I help out with, giving tips and tricks to actors. It's so fun to do. And, kind of explaining best practices, like we're still sort of discovering what's the best. Like I'm starting to believe that tail slates are just way better, because I want to see your performance right up front. I just want to get to the goods, show me the jewels, and then we can do business at the end. Right. That's sort of like a new discovery I had. And I'm sort of, making it up as I go along with my client in mind, right? Producers hiring me to see the talent. I think, well, what does the director want to see right now? Like, what would be the best take? So I think, yes, it's tough, because you got to be all these different. And if you get hungry, then you're crafty. You have to take a little break. You set up a little crafty table for yourself on the side of the room. You do that too. But yeah, you're all these things, right? So it's like, I just like to tell actors this: you can keep it simple. It's totally fine. $25 ring light on Amazon, green screen or not, just a blank wall. You can even record on your iPhone or Android, totally fine. I mean, the audio isn't the best, but it's doable, right? And I can see you and hear you okay. I mean, that's like 90% of, well, let's see, that's technically 90%. But the most important part, like you're saying, is the performance. Really being able to let that other stuff go. Okay, I've set up everything. Now I can get into my actor zone, right? So it's asking a lot. But
all things being equal, though, like say you get 50 tapes in, or I can't believe we still call them tapes. That cracks me up. Anyway, you get 50 tapes in. Yeah,
tapes. I like it. Tapes. Yeah, I call it tapes sometimes. And then it's just,
anyway, yeah, you get 50 tapes in, and for some part in a commercial, and say 10 of them, the acting is all right in the ballpark. 3 of them, the production value is awesome, right? The person's got it down. Don't they have a huge advantage?
Well, let's see. Yes and no. If the production value is dramatically enhancing their performance, then yes, but not in and of itself. In other words, not production value in and of itself, just looking good. You can have an insanely beautiful setup, 3-point lighting, green screen, made up, hair and makeup, everything, the works. And if you're giving me a plastic performance, you're giving me a plastic performance,
Okay,
and,
but say they're all in the ballpark of good.
Yeah.
I just took a workshop from, I forget his name. You probably know him. Shoot. I think it was, Joan Spangler recommended it. So I took it and I paid for it. And he's an actor, and he also helps with these tapes now. And he has a company. I forget his name. Shoot. Anyway, he said that he went to an audition and he booked it. And one of the reasons is that the producer said, not only was your acting really good, but we could see that you really took the time to make it look professional. And he's made a full-time job of this. He's got all the best stuff. He's got a studio he made. He's got everything down,
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's great, but that also kind of sucks, for a lot of people. There are people who live in tiny little studios who can barely, they require a full body shot, who can barely get one in or can't unless they go in the hall or of their apartment or outside or something.
It's a really good point, Ray. And I feel like, you're speaking to something I haven't really considered, but it's really changing, what's it called? Changing the playing field. So basically it's not just the performance, but if you have such a stellar production, it's, part of the interview process. It shows that you care. It shows that you're focused, right? It shows professionalism.
Yeah.
But that's not this is now a philosophical conversation. That's not necessarily fair.
Right. That's my point.
Yeah, no, and it's great. But honestly, this is the biggest point of all. If you have three amazing performances from three separate actors, one of them has an insanely great setup, I think either consciously or subconsciously, the producer's going to pick that person because it's pleasing, and it's pleasing to his or her clients or their clients. You know what I'm saying? So it's very interesting and, borderline sad perhaps because, however, I mean, there could be ways to, again, affordably find basic setup, right? And, and I see a lot of auditions and very rarely are they studio grade. I mean, of the thousands I've seen, maybe like 2. But that was just crazy. And the performance wasn't even really good because they put all their energy in setting it up, and not acting. So
I hear you. It's just another thing that's been introduced into the whole process that I find right now unfortunate. And I'm glad that you've been able to come up with a company that, is taking advantage of this, and maybe you're going to help people become better at it. It's just that, our jobs have changed in a big way because of COVID. I mean, having to do this I'd rather get in my car, drive 45 minutes over to the city, and then come home and be done with it. There's also the whole, well, maybe not with commercials so much, but now when you're auditioning for plays, they're having you do this. And I find that a huge disadvantage for me because I've done a lot of musicals and I sing. I'm a decent singer, but I'm not amazing. I'm not like one of those people, they fall out of their chairs and like, oh my God, it's incredible. I'm more of a character actor, singer. And much of that in the audition is I need to be there in person to convey my abilities. And when I have to do it on the camera, it just doesn't work. I haven't found how to make it work yet. And
I find that startling that theatrical productions would have you record it. Is that because it sort of like the commercial industry, it's just more efficient for the director producer?
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're still doing it for the most part, and even now that they don't have to, because it's just more convenient now. And also they can get people from all over the place. So if they decide they want to bring somebody out from another state, they can.
Yeah, I mean, so we're casting yet, who knows, but we don't do, plays,
theatrical
plays. We do more commercial short film, but it sounds like that's mirroring what I'm doing. They're bringing people from out of state. The selection is 5 times the size, right? Because you don't have to fit people into sessions, in a slot of the studio. So you're getting people from like Montana and Idaho to submit for projects with, knowing that there's a travel budget, all of a sudden it opens up.
Now that's great. That's a great opportunity for people.
Yeah. I mean, I personally love that about what, the pandemic has done. It sort of democratized the process a little bit more, right? So somebody in like Podunk, Nebraska, catches wind of this really cool national commercial for Nike, whatever, audition from home. The beauty with all of this is there's a respect to actors' time and energy, which I so appreciate. I hear you when you say you want to go to the studio 45 minutes, get it done. But man, I remember like driving, sometimes I had 4 auditions in a day. My whole day was in the car, right? 5 minutes at each spot, whatever it was. And I lived in Walnut Creek, so I'm just driving everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about, well, what if I could have done those 4 auditions at home on Zoom like this? That's pretty cool. Or even a self-tape where I can get creative and wear a different costume halfway through and then re-record because I can.
Yeah.
So it invites creativity. It's more honoring of the artist's time and energy. Of course, you do miss some things, you're saying. I mean, especially for I still can't get over that. A play audition on tape. I mean, isn't the whole point of a play to be
It's the norm now. The callbacks, now they're starting to have callbacks in person, but almost always now the initial audition is submit a video, especially for equity theater, which kind of blows my mind.
Yeah. I guess I'm surprised, but thanks for letting me know that. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it'll open up opportunities for actual theatrical agents in the Bay Area, since we don't really have any.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Yeah. So, how do you feel about actors who are in the union here in the Bay Area? Do you think it's a huge disadvantage to be a member of SAG-AFTRA?
It's tough up here. As you know, there's just not as many opportunities.
What about people submitting down to LA though? Like now that everything is kind of open, do you find that people are able to submit for?
Honestly, I haven't done many productions yet in Los Angeles. I don't think I've done one yet. It's funny. We just got a client in Texas, so maybe this is my roundabout way to getting to Los Angeles.
Moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Right. So we'll see. And it's local hires in Texas, but for SAG, I mean, it would make sense, right? Bay Area union actors could easily self-tape audition for union productions in LA, where most of them happen. I think it's tough. If I was an actor again, I'd seriously consider going FICOR just because you'd have options for both. I know, some folks frown upon that, but I'm also sort of in the artist's mindset of, well, how can I pay rent? How can I do all these things I need to do? Especially if you're planning to live your life in the Bay Area and you well know that it's 95% non-union. I mean, what are you doing? You're just missing out on all these great opportunities that you could be perfect for.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last number of years. And I think I'm going to go FICOR, but they make it hard. First, they give you a giant guilt trip, and then they make it hard for you to figure out how to do it. You have to send a letter to some specific person in New York and hope they respond to you. It's just not easy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of unfortunate that, like, if you get to the point where you're able to join the union, then all of a sudden you can't work. It's the craziest system, but I don't know.
How has it been going for you? Are you getting some union auditions up here?
I did it. Well, I mean, in some ways it's been good. I was in a short film, and that was because I was in the union, and they only used union actors about a year and a half ago. And then I've done extra union work, which pays really well compared to non-union extra work, which, more than paid my dues. I've done like 3 of those in the last year, but I'm not in this to be an extra though.
Yeah, of course not.
Although like the last extra job I did I made like almost $600 and I did absolutely nothing. Literally. I sat in a chair in the rain waiting to go home.
I was like, I'll take $600 for that.
Yeah, but it's like, is that acting? No.
I know.
Yeah. I could have made $300 doing a real job that was non-union. So
sure. Yeah. No, I hear you. I remember those days too, of just being so antsy and sort of getting in an existential crisis, right? Like on set, like I'm doing nothing. Why am I, I would just start freaking out internally and being like, I don't care about the money anymore. I just need to leave. Like, this is dumb. This is not what I got, trained 4 years in college.
Yeah.
Shakespeare and Beckett and all the greats. And here I am now as an extra on the set where they don't even need me. And I'm eating way too many Twizzlers and getting your sugar right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think, I'd just one-on-one, I'd love to consider you for projects. We have a lot coming up. Most of them are non-union though. So it's just, and here's the thing, non-union has changed a lot. Mm-hmm. I feel like you've probably been in the game way longer than I have, but I remember there used to be, I don't remember, but I've been told that there was a time where non-union was just horse done. Like no one wanted to do it.
That's why I joined the union, because I was like, I would get, 5-6 commercials a year that would pay like a couple $100. And if I added up all of my travel up to San Francisco and back, when I used to do my taxes, it was like barely break even.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Like, what's the point?
So that's right. And it's changed so much now. And I think it's because of, social media and sort of this digital frenzy of companies wanting little spots, social media spots, website banners, things like that. Mm-hmm. And so, I think subsequently rates have gone up. And, I just did a national non-union the other day, $8,000 for the app.
See, that was unheard of before.
I know.
Yeah.
So there is hope. I mean, we'll see where it goes. I like it too, because it sort of allows for anybody to audition, right? Like the barrier to entry is so low. There's no barrier. You're just sent the audition notice and you can do it, which is, anyway, that's a whole separate note on my whole idea of democratizing the audition process. I mean, I think there's a lot of platforms that actors pay for, casting networks and Backstage, and they're good platforms. But I am fundamentally interested in veering away from the whole pay to play model.
Yes.
Right? Like, what does that look like? What does it look like? And your question was awesome. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead to it.
That's okay.
On social media. How do you leverage social media?
Yes.
And it's a brilliant question. And it's
the one I had written down on the webpage that I gave you.
Yeah.
Because I haven't asked it yet here.
Right. Sorry.
People were wondering is referring to a number of questions that I sent that I actually haven't asked any of yet.
Yeah. Sorry. Yesterday. He asked me yesterday over an email. but let me just pause. Do you want to ask the question?
No, please answer. You just want to know how you leverage social media.
Leveraging social media, and it's so cool because obviously that's free, right? People on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, no big deal, right? If I put a casting out there and I say, hey, we've got this job for you, and you sign up to audition, there's no $25, $30 a month commitment. There's no, any other motive than just trying to get people opportunities. And I think it's a deep-seated passion for me, because I used to be an actor for so long, to give someone an opportunity that has no strings attached, and so I think that can be the future, especially with casting directors like me and the sort of younger generation of casting directors who are a little bit more tech savvy and can kind of navigate the submission processes on their own and don't need to be sort of reliant on softwares that, casting corporations use. So it's interesting.
I totally agree with you. I mean, years ago, the pay to play thing was a no-no. I mean, nobody would pay. I mean, I resent the fact that the casting networks is now forcing me to pay just for my agent to submit me. I mean, I actually thought that was illegal. Or maybe it is and no one's enforcing it. I think it is actually illegal. It's just not enforced. I don't think you're supposed to have to pay. Yeah.
I think you're referencing maybe, the Krikorian Act of 2010, when a casting director, I forget either, he told actors to sign up for his workshop, but it was really an audition, or the other way around. But regardless, he misnamed what talent was paying for. And so the Korean Act said, you cannot, going forward, people cannot force actors to pay for auditions. And I feel like the loophole maybe with casting networks is it's just a platform, and they are just a platform for casting directors to use. But if casting directors had built-in, or casting networks had built-in casting directors, maybe that would be sort of a shady area. But you're right. Yeah, you cannot pay. And so I'm very leery about that, charging because why would you, I mean, it also, why would you want to charge actors anyway? They're the bottom of the totem pole, right? It's like
because they're desperate.
Ad agency, producer, director, casting director, agent, talent, right? It's just like,
because we're desperate.
The funnel goes.
We're desperate. Actors are desperate. They'll do anything. They'll do what they're trained to do what they're told.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that what we do? What you're told. And so we do what we're told. It's so different than any other industry. People wouldn't put up with it.
It's true. Well, I think, just to riff off that, I mean, I always ask myself why, there's desperation. And I think in our culture, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, is this hint of, I could go to Hollywood. This could be my break. This could change everything. I could move to LA. There's always that in the back of every actor's mind. Yeah. Just one more time, just deal with it. One more crappy job, one more time, because I'm going to meet so-and-so and they're going to connect me. And it's beautiful and sad at the same time. And you got to appreciate that actor hustling spirit of always working and trying. And there's such a love there and a passion there. Mm-hmm. But the reality is so unbelievably difficult, and your karmic alignment has to be such in this lifetime to make sure that, or whatever that you could actually make it, that's
sometimes there's politics involved, and then that's completely out of your control.
Yes.
Unless you're like one of those, I always envy the actors who are like so good at navigating that whole thing. And you watch them. I watched them do it for years. And like, God, you are awesome. I wish I could do that. Yeah. Meeting the right people, befriending the correct people. It's like, man, it's like you sat down and thought about it.
Right.
You did.
It's like you got a radar in your mind. You can just know who to talk to.
Yeah. It's a crazy. Is that why aren't you acting anymore? Did you decide you prefer doing the casting?
So it was a simple thing for me. I just didn't. I told myself, all right, I needed to make X amount this year. Mm-hmm. I think it was $50,000. I was mid-20s. Like, if I can make $50,000 doing this, a year, then I think I can live off this. And I got to like 45 or 44, and I just thought, man, after my fourth year of trying full time every single year, I just didn't make it. And so I just had this sort of come to Jesus, just like moment of clarity, and like, all right, I need to. So basically, so there was that, and then there was about 5 or 6 different careers in between that until I got to Aura. I was just a floundering fish. I didn't know what I wanted to do. There was like, I did tech sales. I was a cookie maker. I did food distribution. I did community management at a co-working space. I mean, I did everything. And I was like, what the heck? And then that's when, the pandemic hit, and I finally tied up everything together. But yeah, I just couldn't make it financially, Ray. It was tough. I loved it. I did a lot of commercials. I did some plays, some short films. Bay Area has only so many opportunities. It's the kind of thing where now it's turning into the whole like make your own content game. Mm-hmm. And I never really always had the energy for that. Sometimes I just wanted to be an actor with a script. Like, just give me the damn script.
Yeah.
Let me do, I mean? Yeah. But I think that's definitely the way it's turning into. Make your own stuff and see where that takes you. It's hard to wait for opportunities,
So you were able to actually make $45,000 a year as an actor in the Bay Area?
Well, in combination with all my other little like gig jobs.
Oh, okay.
Like I did, I worked for Kind Snacks. I gave out Kind bars on the street in San Francisco. That was fun. That was really fun.
That's a perfect actor's job.
Oh, it's great. It was like a meet and greet job. It was just great. And I worked for a few other, I think I was a bartender at one point for a little bit, and This is a fun one. I worked for this company called Suitable Technologies, where I was a beam pilot, and basically there are these iPads on sticks with wheels that I would operate one of those from my house. And there's a video of me in Palo Alto at a store with a human. It's like a robot. And I was operating this robot. Talk about, virtual working from home. This is like the epitome of working from home, but operate this robot in another place to interact with that person. And I was hired just to promote the product. Like, look how cool this is. And I would spin around, and sometimes they put a cape on me and all these funny things. I should dig up some photos and show you, but gosh, those are good. So that was another part-time thing, Yeah. So I was thinking, geez, with all this hustling and I still can't just make, a basic salary.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? I don't know. I just,
No, I get you. I think that's why a lot of people, they just focus on theater here and then just try to make a living during the day. Cause just, you're not going to make any money, doing commercials in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there are a handful of people who've done it somehow, but it's pretty rare.
I think a lot of the good actors who remain in the Bay Area aren't so driven on eventually moving to Hollywood and eventually being famous and successful. But I think it's more like there's a lot of people here that just love being in plays. Yeah. And they're great actors, and they'll do commercials on the side.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And it's really a treat for us, casting up here, because there's a handful of really good trained actors who, will be there for you and earn, so many of my friends have left to LA and New York and sort of gone that route and getting successful. But other folks just don't have that desire to do that. I'm one of them. I thought about that too, but I love the Bay Area so much. And just the energy here and the quality of life here to me, that was more important than a career in entertainment. Yeah.
You could have had a number of guest spots on LA Law. You've missed out on them.
Missed out, man. But it's true. There are pretty cool movies that do come up here. I just wish they would I think they cast some of the supporting roles up here.
Sometimes, yeah.
It's mostly the extras, huh?
Yeah. Sometimes they cast like the under 5 roles, where you just have a few words.
Right. Right.
Yeah, let's see. What was the last big TV show that was up here? Trauma, I think. Did you ever see that show?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
It was like, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. And although I guess there have been a couple on Netflix since then, up in like Petaluma. But anyway, the network TV show like Channel 5 or NBC or whatever it was. Trauma. All of the principal roles, there was only one person who was a Bay Area native and lived here. Wow. And that role was a principal role, but he was just like the captain of the fire department there, and he didn't really do a lot. He was never part of any of the story. And that's rare. Usually it's just really, really small. Like years ago, what was the Don Johnson show? Nash Bridges. Mm-hmm. So they would always cast one local actor. You were probably like a little kid at this time.
Probably. Yeah. Mid-90s, right? I think I was. Yeah, I was.
Yeah. So there was only like one local actor they would cast, and everyone was always fighting for this role. And they'd show the person at the top, and they'd be part of they'd like initialize the story, and they would just have maybe 4 or 5 words, and then it would skip to the real show. And I always felt like it was a way of just placating. Yeah,
totally placating. I have a friend, Brian Cohen, who was actually, because they're doing the remake or something up here now, another Nash Bridges. Mm-hmm. Brian D. Cohen, great actor. Young guy, he had a pretty nice bit part, had an exchange with blanking on his name. Yeah.
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson, yeah. And so, Who knows? Sometimes
once in a while, I have a friend, Colin Thompson, that show Trauma I was telling you about. He was probably in the best episode they ever did. And he was the protagonist, and he was a murderer, and he was killing everybody in this building that he worked at because he was pissed off. And he was the main character in the whole episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he was here. They cast him from up here, which is so rare.
Yeah,
it was quite awesome.
Because, the creative department's really used to casting in LA, and in their mind they think, which probably holds a lot of truth, that there's just better talent options up here. But now with the pandemic and the ability to cast virtually and just seeing more options, I think we might see a shift, because obviously a lot of us actors up here can hold our own. And I think it's just really getting in front of the camera, showcasing what you can do, so you can be comparable to an LA actor, right? Just because it's LA doesn't necessarily mean, look, I'm auditioning for commercials all over the place virtually. And I get a lot of Bay Area auditions that are good, if not better than some of the LA ones. I think it just has that sort of cloud, that pink fuzzy cloud of aura of something that makes people like, oh, they're LA talent. But it's not always true. I mean, there's a great agency in Portland, Oregon. Really? Shout out to the option agency, Dennis Troutman, great guy, great agency. Man, they've got some real ringers there, Ray.
I bet.
Really good. And
I know a lot of good actors who live there.
Yeah.
A lot of them have moved from the Bay Area up to there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. And so I really think things are changing, especially with this virtual world. And you're going to start seeing people, no longer having to drive to the interview, but drive to the paycheck, which is really great, right? It's like when you get in a car, you're already booked. And, that's such a beautiful feeling, because it's like, again, really sort of respecting time and energy that the actor has.
So perhaps this whole thing will sort of equalize it for everyone and make it the barrier to entry lower.
Yeah, well, that's, and I think one of your questions was asking me about like what, makes us distinguishable or makes a casting different, and I think, one thing I'd tag on to that is that, we really go out of our way to find people. And again, for free. Anybody, back in the day, they'd go out on the street and give out flyers and things like, hey, you want to be in this commercial? And so. But, with the digital age, it's me really being aggressive on social media, really creating, advertisement and energy around a post or something, and getting people to respond and having this whole thing. Yeah. And so, pulling people into acting and, that feeling of showing somebody something new that they could try and they love it, like they've never acted before, and like, oh, Taylor, I don't know. My branding is very encouraging to the new artist. But anyway, that feeling is so warm of, hey, let me show you an option for this next job or the rest of your life, but this could be a career for you. Would you want to act? It's like people making stars. I think for me, it's less of, I want to get you to Hollywood, and it's more like, I want to get you out of your mom's basement and start acting. No, I don't know. But just making the leap, because I have actors say, oh, Taylor, I've never done this before. I'm really interested. I refer them to acting coaches, teachers, agencies, things like that. But then I also, in my auditioning, because the more the merrier for virtual casting, right? I encourage them to audition. So I could get 5 times as many tapes, but it's okay because I have time now. I've not been in the studio all day just looking at one after the other. I can sit down with my team and watch all of them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, equal the playing field. That's what you're saying. And I think it's wonderful. And I think it's really sort of inspiring. And I think we're going to get all kinds of new talent in the mix.
So the company is called Aura Casting, AURA, just so everybody knows. Yeah. And are you in with the Bay Area agents? Are you working with them?
Very closely. Yeah. Yeah. Very good working relationships with all the agencies here. And
Are they including you with all their other? Well, I guess it's, what am I thinking here? No, you're the casting director. So the client comes to you and then you go to the agencies. Okay.
Exactly. It's sort of a one-way street. It would be nice if they, but I don't think, the business model isn't, so as a cast director, I take a day rate, right? So then producer says, here's what we have for casting and here's what we have for talent, $1,000 plus 20% for X, Y, and Z. So money's for the actor and the agent. So I reach out, to Joan or to Rosie or Janice, whoever. And I say, hey, we've got this job. Would you like your talent to submit? And, if it's a super low job and it's like, I don't think any agents are going to like this. Sometimes I just post on SF Casting or, I have my own database of talent as well. Mm-hmm. And I saw you signed up. Thank you. It's awesome.
I did. I said, what the heck? I'll do it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, now that
it's so easy.
There,
I mean, it's like, wow, this is incredible. Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, where else can you do that? Nowhere. Yeah, no, usually they're going to make you pay for one thing. Right. Like
and
Actors
honestly, the thought went through my head at the beginning of this and thinking, should I incorporate that? And then you're right. I mean, looking into the California legislature and seeing all the, laws that have been passed about casting and charging for it. It's a very murky area. It gets you red flagged. But more importantly than that, I discovered that even if the law didn't exist, like I said earlier, I just fundamentally don't believe in the pay to play. Actors like me are trying to make $45,000 a year. Like if there's anything we can do to spare them, just $30, $40 a month. You know what I mean? It's like,
I do know what you mean. I thought it was great that you're not charging. Now I know you need to make money, but on the other hand, I feel that that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, I think there were laws way back in the 30s and 40s that were drawn up by our Congress that precluded that you weren't allowed to pay, that they weren't allowed to charge. But
sure,
I don't know. I mean,
I see a lot of people bend the rules. In our industry, there's a lot of gray area for sure.
Yeah. It's going to take someone to enforce it, and who's going to do it? I mean, it's like on the bottom of everyone's list, so they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I thought I want to make it free. I'm just, I believe, and it feels better. I'm going to make it free. I'm going to, I'm going to give workshops. I'm going to do these things. I just want to help the community. And so it's okay. My revenue model now comes from the producers, and that works just great.
Which is the way it's supposed to be, I believe.
I think you're right. Yeah. You're 100% right. It's the way it's supposed to be. They're the ones with the money anyway. And, why would I be, sort of milking the enthusiasm of these desperate actors? It's not fair. Like everyone always milks the enthusiasm of an art. It's like, oh, they're so excited. How do I leverage that? How do I have an ulterior motive and like hook in? It's like BS, man. Come on. Like, they're enthusiastic because they want to work. They want to get paid. And of course they'll like pay whoever to get, to get work, but it's just, oh, come on. So as an artist myself, it's like we see through that. You got to see through that, Yeah. It's like respect the enthusiasm and like let it live in the audition room that you got to for free.
Yes.
It's like, can you imagine you have like an interview, I don't know, at LinkedIn or Facebook, and you had to pay?
Exactly. That would be the equivalent.
What? And those jobs, if you got them, would be six figures. Yeah. It's like, what? There's something wrong here.
Exactly. So is anybody else in your family in the entertainment world?
Yeah. So my brother Walker, let's see, he is sort of in the entertainment world. He's in media production. He's got a cool company called Pierce Mill. I think it's piercemillmedia.com. And he does video work for, all kinds of things related to food and agriculture. He does a lot of historical pieces on, I think it was World War II and the Cold War. And he works with veterans and different agencies in the government to create these really cool archival kind of documentaries and sort of interviewing like older generals and things. So it's really kind of cool specialized video production that I think a lot of people, especially in the Washington, D.C. area, can find value in. If it's about the government or about policies, things like that. He's a great interviewer. He's sort of like me. He just does it all. You know, he's an actor, he's a writer, he's a director, producer, and yeah, they're doing great. I think he's on his 5th or 6th year of that company. It's his own company, and he and his partner Carolina. So, and then my mom is also in DC. She's a political scientist, and she works at Catholic University, I believe, and she's retiring this year. And my father passed away about 6 years ago, and he was very happy. I attribute a lot of my energy from him. He was a very exciting human with a lot of passion and just love for life, and a poet, really, really good poet. And he did everything. He worked at the New York Stock Exchange. He was a diplomat in Italy. I mean, he was just cool and just multi-talented and just real badass, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry he passed away. He sounds like a great guy.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It was sweet. And so my wife and I, Helena, we live here with our cat. You might have been seeing her running around, Lambert. But been married for about almost going on 3 years now. And
all right.
And that's great. And yeah, so
you and your wife run the company.
Yeah, that's right. You know, my wife actually made the leap. She left her corporate job. She said, all right, well, it looks like Aura Casting is taking off. Let's see if I can. I was so grateful when I heard her say that. You know, I was like, oh, great. We could definitely use your help. You know, she's never officially been a casting director, but she's so smart, and she's an entertainer, and she has a good sense, and she's really good at marketing, really good at finances. So I think it'll be a really big asset for the company to have her. You know, it's just nice to expand that way rather than my next hire being like a part-time W-2 employee or something. It's just, gosh, financially that, you know, in California with AB5, it's like this whole thing.
Yes.
You can't do 1099 anymore, really, with what I'm doing. But, you know, eventually you will need to hire a part-time employee. But it's just so nice to have her because, you know, whatever we make, it's sort of our collective pot of money, and it's just sort of easy, and we can just sort of grow organically that way until we see what happens next. So,
it's much more convenient, and gosh, like you say, you don't have to worry about AB5 and W-2s and insurance and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, they've made it, you know, because I think Uber and Lyft, you know, were really mistreating their drivers, if I remember reading correctly.
Yes.
And it passed the law for everybody. So now, you know, did you...
Except that Uber got an exemption now.
They got an exemption, yeah.
Yeah, there was another law after that, remember? Like, so Uber, so they passed this to penalize Uber and Lyft, and then it affected everyone. And now Uber and Lyft don't have to abide by it because they paid their lawyers to have us all vote for another one that exempted them.
And meanwhile, everyone else has to follow AB5.
Yes.
And it's just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And it doesn't apply. You know, it isn't policy so funny. It's like one law will be established for like 1% of the use case, and everybody else, the law is not relevant to them. You know, I find it all the time with policy. It's because of this one scandal or this one particular event, which, you know, rattled the whole sort of structuring of things. And so they passed legislature to now enforce it to everybody who's doing that thing, but they're not doing it in a scandalous way, never have been. Yes. Now they have to. So anyway, so the whole point is with AB5, yeah, we're going to go that route eventually, but not until we have to, right? Because that's, your insurance, payroll, the whole 9 yards. So, so we'll see what happens with Helena. You know, it's next year, and then maybe later this year, 2023, it'd be nice to look out for someone who is interested in, you know, part-time or full-time role as a casting associate to help me when we get projects. Because the beautiful thing about, you know, virtual casting is you can do many projects at one time because they don't have a studio.
Yeah.
But, you know, needing someone to help me go through the tapes and, you know, rate them and talk to the agents and, clients and stuff. So yeah, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. I saw a video on how you can set up your own home studio for doing self-tapes, spending less than like $65 on products from Home Depot. And the guy went around and bought everything at Home Depot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you can really rig things up easily, and it's a sunk cost, because once you buy that $65 thing, like, that's your studio. And then every audition after that, and you look great. Your face is well lit. It is so simple. I mean, literally, I could, like, this isn't the ideal background, but I could do an audition here if I could really capture. I think people get so caught up in the look when my one advice to actors all the time: never forget the performance. When you're on set, they will make everything beautiful. It's not your job. Your job is to nail it, be off book, do things performance related, so that, because we can see through all the other stuff. We can really see through. Like, we've booked people who had really crappy setups, and it didn't matter, because you could see the acting was really good. And
we've seen their resume. We saw their past experience. We saw their reel, and they crushed it in the virtual callback. So
there you go. Yeah. So
not to fear, I think a lot of actors are just so intimidated by that. And it's like,
I just did a self-tape for a national commercial. It was for Salesforce.com. And all I had to do, I was supposed to be a CEO looking out the window and seeing a blimp go by.
That's hard, man. You really got to you got to dig deep for that one. So how do you do it? Like, what is the process? Like, remember in acting school, it's like the time when I was young, it's like the time I actually saw the blimp.
Yeah, the magic as if. I've never seen a blimp. What will I do? I find that since I have been in SAG, the SAG commercial that I have auditioned for, which have been so few, they're so much easier than the non-union commercials. Like, the non-union commercials, I used to have to learn lines and then the union ones, for cars and stuff, you very much don't do anything. I mean, it's just looking for a look, mostly. That's really interesting. I think you're right. I think it's like that style. You see national commercial you see on TV, unions, voiceover. It's like the voiceover and the montage of the person looking wistfully at the blimp and someone driving the car. And you know what I mean? And it's literally 2 seconds. Exactly.
And, but you get paid really well. And very well.
My problem was though, my biggest thing was how much time of staring at a blimp is ideal.
So they stared too long.
I didn't get called back, so I guess it wasn't long enough, or it was too long. I mean, it was literally just...
Wait, they were going to do callbacks for you looking at a blimp? In a studio or online?
I don't remember.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure I would have heard back by now. It was last week, so I haven't heard anything, so... And a lot of times those things, they put it out all over the place. You think you're in San Francisco, they're going to cast from here, but... They might have put out the same casting notice to 8 different cities, who knows?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, anyway, so where can people find you? Auracasting.com?
Yeah. Auracasting.com. We've got a free registration link at the bottom of any of the web pages there. Just sign up.
If you're an actor or if you want to be an actor.
Yeah, if you want to be an actor, model, totally free. Just a few questions there, headshot, reel, anything else. So that, when we have castings, and then it's also important to say that even if you're with an agency, we always go through the agencies if you list your agency.
Yeah.
But, it's really important to know that, community is a big part of what we do. So even if we're with an agent, we'll have these workshops, we'll have guest speakers. I think next month we're doing an Ask Your Agent session with one of my favorite agents. And, again, just community events. So
how do people get involved in those? Is there a mailing list, an email?
Yeah. So, when you sign up, you fill in your email, and I just pop that into a MailChimp type thing and just send out, a blast to see if anyone, because, we don't have a login portal. It's not a super fancy sort of software, but it's enough on the back end where I can see, who's entered their information, and I can, get in touch with them. It sort of harks back to my coffee and ketchup days. I don't know if you've heard it. We started this thing.
I saw that on LinkedIn. I looked at your resume.
Yeah. And, we would meet up with actors at 8:30 every Thursday morning in Tenderloin, a place called Piano Fight. And people showed
Piano
up.
Fight.
Yeah, people showed up piano in droves. We had Nancy Hayes come as a speaker. We had like 150 people. We were interviewing her. We had Greg Cohen. We had, all the great casting directors. We had producers, directors come out. Lisa Keating, headshot photographer, come out. And, so I just think that's really in my blood to just want to be sort of a support structure. The only sad part is, back then there wasn't a revenue model there. It was just totally pro bono and just, just loving to see people and figuring out finances later. Yeah. And so it's nice now to have sort of a structure in place where I can do this and love doing it and get paid. But then when I have bandwidth to, host events and stuff. And so, and speaking of which, there's a little Zoom holiday party tonight if you want to come at 5 o'clock. I can send you the link.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I think you signed up right after I had sent out the blast. Otherwise, you would have gotten it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think, see tonight. Yeah, I can do it tonight. Yep. Cool. All right.
But then on social media at Aura_casting, Facebook and the World Wide Web. We're trying to grow, like I said, our SEO and get out reviews and So. And thank you so much for this podcast. This certainly helps. And on top of that, we have a great conversation and got to dig deep and explore some really cool topics. So
yeah, I love talking about this stuff since. Yeah. I've been doing it for so many years now, as you have. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks, Taylor.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. This is a blast.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Okay. I'll send you that link for tonight.
Okay.